Alrighty. So hi.
Hi there.
Today, my name is Kiara Lewis, and today I am sitting with the lovely Elder Jennifer Bishop and Pastor Aaron Bishop, and so we're so happy to have you all. Today we're going to be talking about the HBCU experience, how it pretty much led them to where they are right now. So we're going to kind of get a feel of that, maybe a little bit about relationships and things of that sort. And so we're really excited to have them today.
Thank you.
Right? So thank you all for allowing us to do this, and we welcome you here.
We're honored.
Yeah, thanks for thinking of us.
Of course. And so just to kind of dive right on in, all right? So you both have very impressive resumes. So,
Thank you.
very impressive resumes. And
You're
so.
talking about just her, right?
Well, maybe so. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. All right. And so just thinking, especially what stood out to me was just your work with the community, and with our youth out here. So important. So just kind of talk about your career journeys. What are the steps that you took to get here?
Well, the famous slogan or statement from Savannah State is, you can get anywhere from here.
That's right.
And Savannah State was a great foundation. It was a great launching pad. As my wife has always said, and I don't want to steal her thunder, they gave us 2 degrees. Well, she has 3. A master's, a bachelor's, and a hustler degree.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah, I get it.
going to a HBCU, especially during the times when everyone didn't have a computer, internet wasn't available for everyone, and it was only a payphone on one hall, right? You had to make,
Hard, right? I know.
You had to make things count.
And
it taught me how to turn lemons in, not just to a lemonade stand, but to a franchise of lemonade stores. Because you want to maximize everything that you've been given as a resource or something that is afforded to you because of the honor and privilege to go to school. So getting here back to my roots and my base with the foundation of great parents, it was a great start for me to be a husband and to be a contributing citizen.
I went to Savannah State, to a HBCU, because my parents went to a HBCU. They met there and were married, and I went to a Savannah State homecoming with my mother. I was in 9th grade, and from that experience alone, I said, I'm going there. No doubt in my mind. And when I got there and was fortunate enough to have an academic scholarship and an athletic scholarship in volleyball, it was everything that I could have imagined and more. Beyond the scholastics parts of it, it was an experience of a family, because even though you're 17, 18 years old going on your own, something about that HBCU experience or that Savannah State experience, you still felt that you were engulfed in parental guidance. There were still people who cared about your well-being and making sure that, why weren't you in class? Going to the cafeteria, you want some more to eat, you're good, that kind of thing. And so it was comforting to know that you had a comfort zone and still learn to grow up and be an adult. And then from, my husband said, I firmly believe you had to make sure everything was done the way it was supposed to. So in the hustling degree that I joke about, but also serious about it, it made you make sure that things were taken care of to your benefit. It made you make sure that you had all your I's dotted and your T's crossed. And just HBCU overall, I'm a 4th generation graduate of HBCU. And so my great-grandparents went to an HBCU. My grandparents went to Tuskegee. My parents, as I said, went to Savannah State, and then us, and they all met and married at HBCU.
I love it.
So,
That's called generational.
It's called generational blessing. But it's the power of the HBCU. It's the power of that community, and that community continue to perpetuate itself into other generations. So it's a blessing, man. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
It's such a blessing. One thing that kind of stood out to me is that you went to homecoming and that experience.
I was 14 years old.
Oh my goodness.
But you know, when you think about HBCU, the first thing I said was homecoming.
Right.
Which is so much more to us than the homecoming. Although it's hands down, it's a phenomenal experience. But that's one day or one weekend out of 4 years of experience.
Absolutely.
So.
And what I respect what Beyonce has done is just bring another level of awareness to something that we hold true to as a point of pride, which is homecoming season with HBCUs. I believe North Carolina A&T calls theirs the greatest homecoming of all time. We have the greatest homecoming.
Oh yeah, I was about to say.
I just got to plug
that.
Yeah.
Savannah State can take them for
the
a
money.
little
For
challenge.
sure.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that.
But homecoming was always this parade, this form of show and tell that we made it.
Right.
This is where we are in life.
Celebration.
One of the first things we did was after we got a foothold of success, we wanted to find a way to give back. And we became a part of our homecoming experience by adding to the agenda and our itinerary to do comedy shows.
Ah, nice. Okay.
For the alumni.
Nice.
And our team, along with several other classmates, we gave them an amount of $10,000 back to school.
It was five over the course of years, I think.
In scholarships.
We worked with the schools and we said, this is what we want to do. And they said, before we knew we would be able to give the scholarship because we generated it, but we wanted to add to the homecoming experience and we wanted to do a comedy show. And Savannah State alumni, the students, the city of Savannah, helped make it a sold out show for 3-4 years.
No, seriously, I was definitely there.
It was but that's what Savannah State taught you to do, is to give back as you go up, because somebody gave down so that you could come up, kind of thing.
Right.
And so we still have a strong network of people, because we both came out in '98 with our bachelor degrees, and I finished Savannah State with my master's in 2000. So it's a continuation of still just continuing to give back to something, an entity, a spirit that gave you so much.
I always say one thing I've learned is that it's bigger than me.
Wait.
Right. Before you go to your next question,
Yeah.
I just had to give back what had given so much to me, and I think I'm gonna probably get some points for this. I mean, you go all the way to Georgia from South Carolina, and you bring a peach back. You got to pay the price.
Oh yeah.
I bought a Georgia peach
Georgia
back.
peach.
And it cost a whole lot. So
Yes, it was worth it.
had to give
It was
back to
an
the
investment.
Georgia clay. Had to give back to the soil.
No red Georgia clay.
That's right.
Come on down to the dirty days.
Yes. Talk about it. Talk about it. All right, I'm repping Georgia all
Come
day.
on.
In case you didn't know.
Oh,
All
nothing
right.
wrong with that.
All day.
Got the love.
All right, and so I know again that you all both met at Savannah State, which is the university by the sea.
Okay, yes.
You did not know that.
Not Hampton.
It's not
That's
Hampton.
the college by the sea. We're the university by the sea.
All right. So, how did you all meet?
Ooh, boy.
Oh, wow. So we had mutual friends who were dating,
Okay.
and she was being this assigned protector to ward him off, because I don't know if the interest was totally there.
Okay.
And so my friend hit me up and said, "Hey, big dog, I need your help. I need you to cause a diversion." And so he would usually go to the dorm, which is Boeing Smith.
Okay.
And
I
knock
was
on
on the second floor.
he would knock on their window
Which was
door.
ground level.
And so she thought it was him, but it was actually me.
Oh.
So I lifted up the shades, because I think you lift the shades, and
Oh, my goodness.
his friend was short, and so I'm tall, so I normally lift the shades and I'm looking down. So this time when I lift the shades looking down, I'm looking
So
at
that
somebody.
tall, dark, and handsome man,
Yeah, that's what I saw. And I'm looking down, and I look up, and then he comes with this whole aggressive.
meet me outside.
Oh.
Yeah, so she was like, oh, because she's a daughter of a police officer.
Okay.
So she was like, okay, let's do it. And so we outside.
But not
She
like
was
meet me outside.
protected.
Yeah, I was like, I thought he was
Yeah.
coming disrespectfully.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, come on outside.
So we're on the steps of Boeing Smith, The diversion has been implemented. He goes back.
Yeah.
He courts the young lady who's her roommate.
Yeah.
And we outside, and I'm just like buying time, flirting with her, saying, "Oh, I see it. It's in your eyes. You want me."
That
She's like,
is
"Nobody wants you." I'm like,
hilarious.
"Yeah, whatever." So we just playing back and forth,
Mm.
and I think I saw like a twinkle in her eye. She was
That's
really
what you saw?
digging.
That's
A
what it
little
was.
twinkle.
When the saying
I'm making
that-
up stories now. I'm making up stories. Anyway, he comes around the corner. He's like, "All right, we good," and we walk away with the plan implemented.
Okay.
Later on, we were seeing each other as students around
Yeah.
campus, and we went on our first date, and she's been my
Oh.
date ever since then.
That is beautiful. Is that how it went?
That's how.
Okay, okay.
That's how.
Just
He's
checking.
telling her.
And
He's
I
telling
called my
me.
mom, like on our second date,
Ooh.
and said, we was at a movie theater. I called my mom from the payphone
That's
on
good,
collect.
Okay.
And I said, "Mom, I found the one." And it was in her touch of her hand. Her hand has a special feeling. My mom's hand has always been like a pacifier to me.
Mm.
It's something that I, like a security blanket. Her hand feels just like my mom's
Oh
hand.
my God.
And I knew that was the one. Never felt that in my world, in my life.
It feels.
So I've been holding her hand ever since then.
That's right.
That's right.
That's my boo.
Oh, that is so beautiful. Oh my
That's
goodness.
my boo.
Yeah, that's it. Did I miss anything?
No, you did a great job. Especially when you add the powers that signed deterrent.
Yeah, you was a sign.
That's true, because she told me to do it.
Wow.
That's it. Good job, honey.
All right, so question. I know you all have been talking about, SSU. Was SSU your first choice? Did you know, that this is the school that I want to go to, and why?
Well, it was for me, because that homecoming.
Yeah, yeah.
And I did apply to other schools just in case, or what
Yeah,
have
of
you.
course,
but,
of course.
Savannah State sent me that acceptance letter and the scholarships for volleyball, and I got academic scholarships, and I was proud to be able to tell my mom, who's a single mom at the time. My parents got divorced, but I was so happy to be able to tell my mom that you don't have to pay for school, Mom.
Oh, my
And
goodness.
she didn't even know that I had gotten any of it.
Wow.
And so that was, I'll treasure that for the rest of my life, that I was able to tell her that it's paid for, everything is done. And let's just go. And then, and was able to do it all 4 years. Because my mother passed while I was in college.
Okay.
But to know that I was able to do that, so, and that she knew that she had, her baby was going to her school and was doing it that way. But homecoming, 1990. And I'm sure HBCUs across the board have taught people things similar to that, is that you cannot, they don't exist because we accepted the no.
Mm.
We may have accepted your not now, but we will not accept your no, which has helped us, be able to continue to do what we have done and will do.
I think we about to ask a question. We just
No, this is good. If you didn't know, they're dropping gems right now. All right, this is what you call dropping gems.
Hey.
So I appreciate this.
Awesome. Good.
I
We're
appreciate
preachers too,
this.
so we can talk a lot.
Oh yeah, I love it. I love it. All right, hopefully our audience is gonna love it too. All right, so how did you kind of answered this a little, but how did your experience at SSU just kind of prepare you for your current fields of work? And if you want to kind of talk about what what you're into now and just those backgrounds, kind of give a little feel of that.
We both majored in history.
Okay.
I minored in criminal justice. He minored in education.
Education.
And then I went on and I got my master's in public administration from Savannah State.
Gotcha.
And so my desire had always been to work in the public sector. However, I like the way the private sector paid. And so what ended up happening was when we came to Columbia, through one of his cousins, I became affiliated with a organization that did public sector contracts,
Okay.
but it was in the private industry.
Okay.
And so I was able to really excel, and I had great opportunities to do a lot of things in those companies. And so in 2008, the financial boom crisis happened, and I was making great money, great 6 figures, and was laid off.
Oh.
And I was
wow.
pregnant with our first child.
Oh my goodness.
And so my husband came home, and I told him, and what resonated for us was not only did I see the man in him who stood up and said, we're gonna be all right, don't stress, we have a new life coming, and so forth. I saw that DNA of where we came from to say, this is not a no to our dreams, this is maybe a not now to some of them, but we will recover, and we will recover all.
Right.
So went on, and in that vein that he stood up and said, what he personified in that moment led to what his history is from his family, is that entrepreneurship.
Gotcha.
If they won't give it, we will make it.
Mm.
And then we will make it so that our generation will be blessed from it. And so that's when we started this entrepreneurial side in our household, and have not looked back. Have not looked back. And so for me, and that's my journey, my story. I fulfilled what I wanted to do and worked in the public sector. I wanted to be a senior vice president before I was 30. I was able to do that. But I was also reminded that you are only needed as long as they can afford you. And when they cannot afford you, then decisions have to be made. So you have to be in a decision-making seat so that you can have a hand on the steering wheel of your destiny. And he taught me that.
Yeah.
He helped me realize that, and to have faith in, don't be scared.
Right.
We can do this. And so that's how I got from doing what Savannah State educated me to do,
Right.
To doing what God showed me that I was supposed to do.
Right.
Yeah, well, the HBCU experience, and especially at Savannah State, has 2 phases of discovery.
Okay.
First phase is a discovery of patience. I don't know how your financial aid experience went, but if you had to go through financial aid,
I think we're on the same
oh
page.
man, that was a grueling
Yes,
process.
Yeah.
And
That's where the hustling degree came from, making sure your stuff was straight.
What?
And discovering my level of patience, trying to say, man, how long do I have to go through this period of getting my schedule and waiting on the money to get in, and then finally getting that stamp of you're certified as a student because your financial aid finally
And it
came
came through.
We're good. Make sure you understand that as you start off in life, there may be times when you gotta, start at the entry level position, and that's just, what happens when you want to go with the career route and dealing with, corporations. But I always believe, because of the example of my parents, my grandfather, and grandmother, your salary isn't your worth. And so it made me also go to the second level of discovery, the phase 2, which is my power. If you got patience, it's only a matter of time for you to have power. And there's a quote that says, service is the rent you pay for the space you occupy. I knew what service was, and with greatness comes service, and with service comes greatness. And I started working in my community, started mentoring, started volunteering my time, and then there was this call to leadership to be able to give back to the school district I graduated from before going to Savannah State. And became an elected official. Because I knew serving the community mattered. I served through the church, as a licensed and ordained pastor, and wanted to make sure that I show other people this is the way out. However, it's a struggle with our community because a lot of people don't know they are in bondage because they don't know the difference between slavery and their worth. And in closing, I just wish more people understand that. Maybe they need to get to that phase of patience and power because that's the story of Harriet Tubman. Think about how many times she had to deal with patience and power while trying to set people free. She said, I could have freed 1,000 more slaves. They only knew they were slaves. I'm not saying we're slaves, but there is some entrapment when you only know a handful or a small percentage of people will rise to a level of CEO or be this huge success story in corporate America versus the many people who use their hustle degree with their bachelor's degree, with their master's degree to be their own CEO, to own their own company. And so that's what we do. We're teaching it to our son as well, and to all our members of our church.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And one thing I wanted to point out too is just how amazing it is to have a partner
Oh,
that you
yeah.
can just kind of
She
go
completes
through that journey with, you
Yeah.
know, someone to kind of give you that positive feedback, that reassurance that you need to know, like, hey, we're gonna be okay.
Yeah, sometimes she's my patient, I'm her power.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm her patient, she's my
Yeah.
power.
I love it.
It's
I
a good
love
What
atmosphere.
was beautiful for me when I think of reflect on relationship is how young we started, so that we were able to grow
Yes.
into
Yes.
adulthood, the good and the bad, but we were able to grow together,
Right.
and we can appreciate, where each other has come from, to understand and respect where each other is going.
Right.
But it's a blessing, and it's a blessing that has to be maintained.
Yeah.
But it comes with, support and learning and loving each other through the good and the bad, because we've seen a lot. But we're still standing. And we attribute to HBCU, God overall, but, you have to learn the patience to be able to withstand storms.
Yep.
Stand in the storm and
Yeah.
then watch that sucker behind you.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you have anything?
No, wait, don't.
Okay, I was about to say,
Let
go
you
ahead.
moderate.
I was about to say,
Let
go
you moderate. I'm
ahead.
trying to not preach the whole revival in one night.
I got you. All right. And so I know recently we've been seeing different articles, and this isn't anything new, just about the merging of Fort Valley and Albany and Savannah State into Georgia A&M University. And so I just wanted to know, like, what are your thoughts on that, and how do you believe that merge, and how could that affect these HBCUs?
I've been very vocal about my opposition and the merging of the three, because I believe each one has their own identity.
Mm-hmm.
Several of my friends have taken their opposing view to say that maybe it is best because of the consolidation of resources. But I think that if the alumni becomes more active, more responsible with giving back financially, that we also change, or not change, but start to adapt to some career, not career sensitive, but time sensitive careers, where they are now speaking to the growing economy and the growing need for job growth. We can stand, we can be strong, we can recruit some of the best out of our public school systems to keep us in a place of longevity. So it's amazing that the handwriting can often be on the wall. I was watching BET a few years ago, and the movie, the show called Quad came on, and I was like, wow, that thing is called Georgia A&M University. And I was like, what an omen. And so it really shows us that there are people who are in decision-making power that doesn't know what our true voice is. So I think more alumni need to be vocal with legislature, so that legislature will know that we are not standing for it. Well, at least that's my voice. And we're going to fight tooth and nail to keep our identity.
Absolutely.
I echo what he's saying. I think that there's a power in preserving your history. There's a power in preserving who and what made you who and what you are. I do totally agree that we, on the other side, we do have to make sure that we're competitive with where the society is going, that we have to make sure that our degrees are ones that are offered, that persons who didn't necessarily think about those things 10 years ago but now are. We have to make sure we can match other universities, but I'm 100% for us staying independent.
Absolutely.
And there's a fight, not just in Georgia, but it's a fight nationwide. There's an attack on the establishment of HBCUs. And we need to make sure that a threat to an HBCU anywhere is a threat to HBCUs everywhere. And so I think more presidents need to understand the climate and the temperature of what is going on in our society, and make sure that we all fight for what HBCUs stand for. They stand for history. They stand for historical pathways of great leaders, people who went on to do great things. And there are men who helped space shuttles get in the sky because they were HBCUs. There were men who helped with transplants and develop organizations and become major generals in our military. And so therefore we cannot erase the identity of the HBCUs because it's all we have. I mean, what happens next? They're going to take the church? What happens next? They're going to take our businesses? We have to make sure we fight for what we have left. Absolutely. And I'm very passionate about that across the board. If it was Benedict, I'll fight for it. If it was Savannah State, I would fight for it. If it was Howard, FAMU. So this is just not about Savannah State. This is about all HBCUs.
They all matter.
And why I think this kind of conversation is so important is because when persons say, the first thing when you say HBCU, you name a school, you start thinking about the homecoming, right? So you think of that party on that weekend. And we need to have more conversations about the titans of industries that have come from HBCUs. We need to have more conversations about the relationships and what those relationships have been able to birth out of those HBCUs. It has to be, to me, conversations that evolve past the homecoming. While it's fantastic, and I went because of one, I'm not a homecoming. I'm a business. We're building businesses. We're trying to help communities change, and so we have to tell our history so it will not be erased. Because if we stay quiet, it'll go along the path where it's trying to go. And so people have to say where you come from, so it will show our children and our generations that are forthcoming that no, I want to go there, so help me get there. It pushes us to do more.
Absolutely.
From where we come from.
And I think one of the biggest things, just mentioning preserving our history and speaking of identity, it's kind of like you said before, when you go there and when you've gone there, just being around your own people that look like you, that's something that builds,
Wakanda forever.
A certain strength and certain confidence within you. That is true. And a certain unity, it just builds you up internally.
It does. It's empowering.
It's so powerful, and just to kind of be around that and just being around, just your people and that sort of unity is just freeing and liberating.
Charlemagne God says in his book, you got to return to your core. And just like a phone has to go back and recharge every day, I need to go back to Savannah State and recharge.
Listen,
my wife recharges me, my church recharges me, my community. It's nothing like my college, recharging me as well. Each one of those charging stations are different. And so your soul has to be recharged. And my homecoming recharges that portion of it.
And then think about it, the economy of a college, particularly HBCU. You have more often than not, you have a government inside, a student body government, and your presidents and so forth. But it is your people running your country, your area, your society, and so it's just empowering to be in your place where it's. Everybody may look alike, but everybody's not alike. So we all come from different socioeconomic areas. We all come from different geographies who have different things we do. But it's us. And you're able to find your way in a home environment and learn about other things that we may not necessarily have been a part of our high school's student body, government association or whatever. So. It's just an empowering thing that we cannot, I will not come off of. I just think it helped to change who I am into who I'm going to be, and so I want other people to have that opportunity to do it too, to experience it.
That's what it is. It's truly an experience.
Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
that's what it is. And I know you mentioned some organizations. I know you all were a part of sports, and, athletics. And were you all a part of any other type of organizations, just academic wise, or during your tenure at Savannah State?
I was on Presidential Advisory Council, but baseball, man, being a student athlete.
Well, it was supposed to be.
Yeah,
You couldn't- but you couldn't work-
Because it was
couldn't-
all year, even if your season was gone,
And
you
you
still
could,
had to.
because of NCAA rules, you couldn't work a job.
Mm.
So it was like, this is your job.
Yeah.
This is your life.
Then, truth is, while I was pledging, she pledged with me. So,
Yeah.
and so I pledged for a long period of time. I won't tell the world how long it was, but it was long.
Gotcha.
And she was there with me, so that took up everything.
Gotcha.
And one thing about being a student athlete, because that was our job, if your grade slipped, then you were going to lose your job.
Oh, yeah.
Even if you could perform. So that, it really took up everything.
And
Just to be able to
then-
stay afloat.
She was dealing with her mom with cancer,
Mm.
so
I can only imagine.
yeah, we had a lot.
My freshman year, she diagnosed with brain tumor. In my junior years when she passed.
Oh, Mom. How did you handle it? I don't know if you.
No, it's a part of my testimony. What was ironic was I did not know that she had the brain tumor or was having surgery until I was actually on a volleyball trip
Oh, wow.
in Atlanta. I had come home and we were playing Clark, I think.
Okay.
And my whole family was there at the game, and I did not understand why my whole family was there.
Oh, Mom.
And so afterwards, my grandmother, my nana, she had told my mother. She said, "If you don't tell her, I'm going to tell her, because I refuse for something to happen to you on the table." And then she didn't know. So my team, my family, volleyball family, we all learned at the same time, and they were there to console me. And I was, she had the procedure that next day,
Oh, my goodness.
and this guy talked to my mother before I did after she had her surgery. He did, and I didn't even. He came up, he found her, he talked to her, and then I talked to her, and she said, "I talked to Bishop." That was just so precious to me because they only knew each other for a short period of time before she passed away. And I found out that she passed almost a year to the day that she had that procedure on a volleyball trip, going to play card, and we had ended up playing at Spelman, and my father was in front of the chapel of Spelman and came and told me that she had passed away. And that same volleyball family who was there my freshman year, we grieved and they were consoling me. We were all, it's just a family.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
And so at the funeral, and I was sitting in my living room, and it just did not dawn on me not to go back to school because I wanted to finish what my mother had instilled in me to start, and I knew what I was going back to. I was going back to a home.
Yeah.
I had a family down there that was willing to be what I needed.
That's amazing.
So Savannah State helped me keep my sanity.
Mm.
And it gave me lifelong friends, a husband that in spite of everything, we'll ride or die.
Yeah.
And I learned the true essence of what that was through one of the most devastating things I had ever experienced in my life.
Wow. That's a testimony.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
testimony.
But that's how I survived because I had a family back at home who helped me continue going on.
Right.
That's
So.
awesome. That's awesome. Wow. Okay, we're kind of trying to lighten the load a little bit.
It's all right, it's all right.
No, it's all right. It's all
Okay.
right.
And so, as I was, kind of looking, at your Love Bite series and your truth-telling series in
Yeah.
particular. So I saw that you were telling people how to stay sucker-free.
Yeah, you gotta stay
Right.
sucker free.
And clearing and checking our mental currency.
Oh, come on now.
All right.
Yeah, okay, all right.
So, just what advice, I guess, out of those series, and just in general, what advice would you give to maybe incoming freshmen or just students who are returning this year? What advice would you give to them?
One of my greatest coin phrases, which is something that one of my frat brothers shared with me a long time ago. He said it one time.
Yeah.
It's something I always live by. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
Come on, that's a word. That is a word.
You know, preparation is everything.
Yeah.
And the place of college is about preparation.
Yeah.
I remember reading a quote by W.B. Du Bois that said, if you pause for 4 short years to get a glimpse at what life is really about,
Yeah.
then you'll be successful. What you're saying, college is like this glimpse at the responsibility of life. You gotta take care of your own grocery bill because you gotta go to the caf,
For sure.
right? That's how you eat.
For sure.
You gotta walk the campus, which is your transportation back and forth to your job, right? You gotta deal with family and social relationships. So all of that goes back to what I taught in truth telling. You gotta know who is part of your tribe, so you vibe to your tribe.
Yeah.
There are people in college who won't like you, but you ain't gotta hate them.
Yeah.
You just gotta stay, minding your own business. So that's how you stay sucker free. You stay out the candy shop, and you don't have to worry about the suckers.
Come on now.
And so know what you gotta do to keep your mental currency, because at the end of the day, that's your mental wealth, and your mental wealth will help you provide solutions. People pay you for how you provide solutions.
Yeah.
If you can fix something, you'll be a millionaire. You'll be rich. You'll be wealthy. And so those are the things that I believe matters, because if you stay ready, you get ready.
Yeah.
I read a lot. Wasn't a great reader, didn't like reading, but someone told me in order to get mental wealth and currency, I had to go to the mental bank.
Yeah.
And if you don't go there, you become mentally bankrupt. And so when I'm out here having interviews, advising presidential candidates, making decisions on a $300 million budget, I gotta have some mental currency. If I'm out here trying to date my wife, I gotta stimulate her mind with my mental currency. If I got a 10-year-old son who thinks he knows everything,
Oh boy.
I gotta have some mental currency. So I try to stay ready so I don't have to get ready.
Gotcha.
Especially even on a Sunday morning, as a pastor, there are people who not only want your spiritual wealth, they want to hear what the Lord has to say through you. There are some people who just need help and advice.
Yeah.
And that's where the real ministry happens, where people are saying, hey, I praise the Lord, I thank God, but I got a bad credit score.
Yeah.
What do I do about that, Pastor? And that's when I call my wife and say, she fixed my credit score. I'm going to let you talk to her.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
So those are the things I would tell an incoming freshman. If you stay ready, you have to get ready.
Yeah.
And I can go on and on, but one of the things I tell you was our biggest mistake, and it was because there were vultures out on the campus, not just culture vultures, but credit vultures.
Yes, sir.
Do not get those credit cards.
Oh my
Don't try to outlive your means and try to flodge
Yes.
and spend those loan refund checks on something that is temporary.
Listen.
If you want to do anything with a loan refund check, take that money and invest in some real estate property.
Yes.
And buy you a house if you can, and build that up for years to come.
Yeah.
And then you'll be able to be in a position where your mental wealth becomes residual wealth.
Gotcha.
You made the right decision. You
Right.
stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
Right. And I was gonna say my fiance's little brother, he has twin brother and sister. One is going to University of West Georgia. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. And the other one is going to Savannah State. His brother.
Super
So
tight. That's right.
for sure. And so I hopefully he receives this message and receives it well. I tell him all the time, like, listen, I have so many regrets.
That's right.
Don't do what I did. All right, do better than me.
Yeah.
And so I'm praying for his success as he journeys off this Saturday.
Wow.
This Saturday to Savannah State and to West Georgia, so I'm really excited about that.
Wow, so the twins are going two different
Two
directions.
different
They
directions.
stayed in Georgia though.
That's going to be interesting.
Two different directions. It is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
So I appreciate this interview. Do you all have any final words that you want to kind of get out there, or?
HBCUs, which what we were Genesis or the crutch of our conversation.
Yeah.
It's such a powerful entity beyond the auspices of it as an academia. It's an environment where you can truly learn who you are, whose you are,
Yeah.
and be protected while you're doing it. And so I love the experience of going to a HBCU. I love the experience of still being a part of a HBCU. And what we talked about today was, it's, even though I went to Savannah State and will rep it to the day I die,
For sure.
it's such a bigger family of HBCUs. And, it's a connectivity that cannot be merged into any other entity but, who we are and who we declare to be. So I would just encourage people to, get involved, be engaged, know what's happening, and be an active part of the process.
Yeah.
Don't complain, participate.
I would say that thank God for HBCUs. Thank God for HBCUs. Where would a lot of us be as a people if we didn't have HBCUs? Don't forget about your HBCU. It's a poor frog that doesn't praise his own pond. That's an old statement that says you gotta be thankful for what you can call yours.
Right.
Because Nelly and his boys from Dirty ENT used to say, "We all we got."
Yeah.
We all we got. we are all that we have sometimes.
Right.
And there's nothing like depending on something that was given to you. Now, there are a lot of people who are probably disgruntled about their HBCU experience, but still thank God for HBCU experience. Hopefully it defines some part of your life. I would close with this. There were people at my HBCU. If I couldn't feed myself, they fed me.
Oh, yes. Yes.
If I couldn't get to the store, they drove me. When I didn't know, they taught me.
They clothe yourself, they clothe you.
You know, and that's the gospel of the church. Maybe we need to develop some type of religion to believe in our HBCUs. Not saying that it's some type of deity or it's just God, but we got to have faith about it. Because that's what faith does. Faith builds things.
Yeah.
There are 4 things built upon faith: family, business, schools, and the church. Without faith, it's impossible to please God. We need to put faith back in our HBCUs. Put your faith, your finances, and your families back into the HBCUs.
Absolutely.
And imagine what will happen.
Absolutely.
Just look at how many talented graduates are going on to different universities, predominantly white universities, right?
Yeah.
They're doing great things.
Yeah.
Just imagine if Wakanda Forever was real and some of our students were able to go to our HBCUs. It'll be amazing.
Yeah.
The wealth of talent and leadership and thought
Yes.
that will be in our hallowed halls.
Yeah.
I thank God for our HBCUs because not only did He give me a degree, He gave me a wife, He gave me a family,
Yeah.
and also gave me a life worth living. So,
That's awesome.
Amen.
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 Amen to that. So we're so thankful for this interview to have the bishops here today. And so
thank you.
Thank you.
I wish you all much success in all of your future endeavors, and hopefully that we can, come together as a community
I
and,
think so.
pursue some things that we need to within our community. So thank
Amen.
you all again.
Thank
So
you.
thank you for being with us here at Grace Christian Church,
That's right.
and thank you for the opportunity.